Hello everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the mini-series, Getting Out of Your Own Way, Self-Sabotage Edition. If you haven't watched the previous video, I encourage you to start it from the beginning, and I suggest that you give yourself a week to do the exercises that I do provide in the mini-series. Last week your homework was to monitor all your negative thoughts and counteract them with some positive solutions or understanding towards them. This exercise is a great way to retrain your brain to healthier thought patterns, which in return will attract healthier situations and people. This exercise is a life molder to the change that will help you take control of your life with positive solutions and in the most authentic way by self-inquiry, which means you gotta look inwards and be honest with yourself. The next homework I asked you to do last week was to look up a gang of morals and values that resonated with your core. I also asked you to pick your 5 favorite ones so we could put it on your super killer vision board that we are creating step by step throughout this mini-series. I believe the negative thought exercise is important so you can be aware of what type of lens you are looking out into the world with. I also wanted to bring to light that it is possible to retrain your brain with a positive, fair, logical, and compassionate way of thinking so you can be the supportive best friend to yourself that you look for in other people. And by treating yourself as such, then you can start looking for those characteristics in other people that you enjoy within yourself. For me, this exercise shone light to how negative I was to a certain aspect of my life. And I truly am making the effort to counteract these sabotaging thoughts that aren't letting me enjoy my life to the fullest. By doing this exercise this week and my full commitment to wanting to heal, it has led me to reach out to some integrational therapists to help me heal the separation that was caused by my trauma. Because I'm putting my foot down and I'm not spending another year in the same pattern or hurt cycle because I believe I deserve to be the happiest version of myself. Which even if that means I forego even more transformation, which can be scary and somewhat a wild card, but I acknowledge that it's super exciting at the same time. So I hope this negative thought exercise could open your eyes to what seriously is getting in your way through the simple monitoring and questioning of your daily thoughts and how you see your life and what lens you're looking through. So I urge you to go back into your notebook and dissect what the pattern is through these negative thoughts and really ask what these negative emotions and thoughts are asking from you, or what kind of tension and boundaries you are needing in your life. And dissect what your negative emotions are asking from you. Is it asking you to put up some boundaries? Is it a healthier lifestyle that you really need to commit to? Do you need to reach out to people, whether that be a friend or a support group? Do you need to indulge in these negative thought exercises every morning for maybe a month or two in order to retrain your brain to dissect these negative thoughts through a positive, helpful, compassionate lens? These are the type of questions that I hope these exercises bring up. There's a lot of potential, growth, results, and answers that can come out through this exercise. In the past, I've sat down every morning with a longer version of these negative thought exercises. And you can find the ones that I was using every morning at thedepressionproject.com, and you can find that resource. It's called How to Conquer Negative Thoughts. And I found it really, really useful. Highly recommend it. So the second homework I asked for you to do is to look up morals and values and find the ones that resonated with you. This is by far the most important part to solidify your authentic self, as to seeing that these are the foundations of the very essence of what you perceive as good or bad, which if you don't know, then someone else will decide for you. Morals and values are going to help you decide every decision of your life. And the way to truly live an authentic life is to base your life around these values and morals and never look back on them and never push them aside for anyone. And that also includes if someone tries to guilt you into breaking those. Having these values and morals at your side will ensure that you live a life that you choose. I then asked you to pick your top 5 and then put it onto your super killer vision board that we're working on. So here's my super awesome vision board. I don't know what your definition of killer vision board is, but for me, it's this gigantic sun. Because I wanted a beaming ball of bright sunlight coming at me from the corner of my room as I look at my super awesome, motivating vision board. We have justice, we have truth, we have compassion, we have growth, and then we have transparency. So that's what was very important to me in my morals and values. Essentially, by having you look up morals and values, I was trying to provide you with some ideas that will really help you be the very rock that you've been searching for, especially in tricky situations. Morals and values help you avoid unfavorable situations, toxic people, toxic patterns that you will be able to break down by simply asking yourself, does this person, place, situation line with my morals and values? Hold these dear and near, purple-hearted participants. And don't forget, if you want more information on these topics, there are a lot more information out there that I encourage you to dive deep into. Now, before we go any further with this episode, I just want to clarify that I am not a licensed or certified professional of any kind. I am simply providing useful information that I've collected throughout the years that I thought changed my life and could be of use for someone else. If this series at any point ends up triggering you, please rest and reach out to professionals that can help and support you through your difficulties. That being said, I tried my best to compile a series that I don't believe will trigger you, that this may encourage you to dive deeper on any of the subjects that I bring up in these series. Let us commence video number 2. Today's topic, we will be uncovering the 11 negative toxic emotions. The reason for this is to expand your consciousness, to be mindful and aware to the root to every self-sabotaging action in your life based on these toxic emotions. All these emotions being presented today is in the context of this course. I am aware that there are some gray areas and subgroups to these emotions, but for the sake of this course, we are using them in the context of self-sabotaging extents to which if you don't get a grip or control on, then these emotions will control you. The reason I bring this to the forefront of the miniseries is for you to understand and be aware of these toxic emotions that come from a wounded ego, which truly is not the essence of who you really are, but actually it's a trigger of a previous wound. It is important for you to know these toxic emotions in order for you to be conscious of what these emotions truly are and what they are trying to express to you. By being mindful about them, then you'll be able to dive right into what that negative emotion is trying to express to you, and you will be able to dive deeper into that emotion without the reaction part, which is usually the self-sabotaging / toxic part of these emotions, which will mean that you will be able to decipher your wounded ego and what it truly is asking from you. The 11 emotions are as follows. Number 1 is hurt. Hurt can look like victimization, helplessness, and blame. It can show up mentally in forms such as difficulty keeping up with tasks, becoming hostile / irritable, withdrawing socially, difficulty remembering or concentrating, or feeling guilty without reasoning, or excessive worry. Hurt can show up physically such as headaches, new unexplained pain, changes in appetite, stomach ache and gastrointestinal problems, fatigue, sleeping too much or sleeping not enough, or relying on mood-altering substances. The thing is that our hurt feelings come from a hurt thought, and it's important to dig deeper and ask, why is something making us feel hurt? Are the negative thoughts that we're having based on reality, or are we feeling hurt based on personal assumptions? Number 2, sadness, which can look like self-pity and regret. Sadness is considered as upsetting, painful, or disappointing. It involves crying, a sense of hopelessness, especially when that person cares deeply about another or a situation. They also feel disadvantaged, loss, grief, helplessness, disappointment, and sorrow. It does go away, whereas depression is more constant and needs more professional help with. Number 3, shame, which can look like humiliation or embarrassment. Shame is the sense of feeling that your whole self is wrong, and it may not be related to a specific behavior or event, but shame can make you feel inferior, inadequate, or undeserving. Shame damages your self-image and becomes part of your self-talk. It isolates you, causes emotional distress, it affects self-esteem, relationships, and can lead to harmful behaviors. Number 4, hopelessness, which can look like loneliness, despair, and desperation. It often takes place when a person is extremely discouraged by dissatisfying, distressing, or negative events in their life. Hopelessness is an emotion that is characterized by a lack of hope, optimism, and passion. A person who's feeling hopelessness have 0 to no expectations of future improvement or success. Number 5 is fear. Fear is an emotional reaction that we perceive as dangerous. It can often leave us feeling uncertain and unsure. It is the fight or flight reaction, and this negative emotion may cause one to withhold affection or put up barriers to emotional connection. Number 6, anger, which can feel like resentment and bitterness. This emotion is expressing that a boundary has been crossed. It can also be brought on by stress, feeling tired, or irritation of not getting our basic needs met. People tend to get snappy, short-fused, hostile, and have a hard time being rational and calm. Number 7, hate, which looks like meanness and vengefulness. Hate is a feeling of intense hostility and aversion, usually derived by fear, anger, or a sense of injury. It is also perceived as extreme dislike or disgust. Number 8, jealousy. Jealousy are thoughts/feelings of fear, insecurity, and the concern of lack of possession and safety. This feeling can trigger helplessness, disgust, resentment, anger, and inadequacy. The root of this emotion is comparison. Number 9, pride, which gives off an attitude of being better and self-righteous. Pride makes us too uncomfortable to realize our shortcomings or mistakes. Instead of nurturing self-growth, it wants to compete and defeat. Number 10, greed is an insatiable emotional hunger and has been referenced as a vice. It comes from an excessive desire for something. It can be power, money, fame, etc. A person controlled by the emotion of greed will often ignore the harm that they do upon others. It presents as callous and arrogant through stress, exhaustion, and despair. Number 11, guilt. Guilt imitates self-blame and false responsibility. Guilt is the tension of doing something or failing to do something. It comes with regret, worry, crying, and insomnia. It is a self-conscious emotion that involves negative evaluation of your failures or of your distress and of your own self-image. So those are the 11 different toxic negative emotions that we are covering in the mini-series. As mentioned before, each of these are a result of a wounded ego. An ego that lives and breathes by the certainty that it is separate, alone, and in constant danger. Your ego will try every trick in the book to have you believe that it is not wounded, but in fact, it is. It is wrapped up in a layer of unresolved difficulties, which sabotages you by wearing a false mask and a persona to ensure its safety from any further harm. You can't manipulate, manage, or control these negative emotions, but you can give it what it wants, which is safety, compassion, understanding, love, and reconnection of whole love and yourself. When the wounded ego feels safe, we start to allow good things into our lives. We invite more emotional nourishment, more pleasure, and most of all, more peace. To uncover our true, authentic self, we must reclaim our shadow self so we can wake up from the trance of separation and the endless suffering that comes from it. For this week's homework, I want you to grab another paper and a pen and go through all the negative, toxic emotions that I have presented in this mini-series today. And I want you to write with the utmost honesty how each of these emotions have or are sabotaging your life. You can answer this question with either life examples that you have been through, or how these emotions have blocked you from opportunities, or how it separates you from the life that you daydream about. Just really any shape or form that is trying to be seen and that is trying to be heard. The goal of this exercise is to make you more aware of how these emotions are sabotaging you and your life, and not the other way around. Which in actuality, these reactions/choices that you are making through wounded ego is giving you a blind